Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Cosmic Dispatch. I'm Cory and with me is Mandee Sheeler. And this is a little sneaky surprise episode. We are technically officially on hiatus, but this past month, which isn't even over, we are recording this on what the hell is today?
October 25th.
October 25th. We are recording this on October 25th. This month isn't even over yet, and I feel like the world has changed since September, and so much has happened. Personally, on 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 the in the world, on the global stage, and the astrology for the month of October is just so striking. Um, I felt I wanted to not just to share with you, and I think Mandee, you'll agree with me. Like when we have to put words to and kind of encapsulate what's going on in a certain amount of time and try to communicate about it, it helps me, just helps me understand it better. It helps me think more deeply on it than maybe I would have. And even though I've been doing a lot of client sessions, it's been the current astrology as it applies to that person. But one of the things I miss about doing a weekly show is that, for that almost 2 years that I was just doing it every week, not for a particular person, but really trying to feel into what was just going on, just reading the map and trying to put a story together. That helped me deepen all these other facets and parts of my practice. And also, for a year and a half, I was like, I would talk to Mandee just about every day. And so
No.
we are off that schedule now. And so I was like, do you want to talk about astrology? And she was like, yeah.
Of course. Of course, I want to talk about astrology with you, Cory.
How are you, Mandee?
I'm doing all right. Once we stepped out of, because I wasn't on the show weekly with you, but as you said, we communicated daily and there was this weekly thing that we had going. And since stepping out of that, I look back on that and I'm just like in awe at the amount of work that went into that and the chunk of content that we created in that amount of time. I just think that's really, it's like I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about Cory, and this I think applies to something that you just said, but it's hard to see when you're in it. You know, the fish, what is the saying? The fish doesn't see the water that it's swimming in, right? And so when you're in that, it's really hard to see. And so to step out of that, it's been like, wow, we did that, Cory. We did a thing.
And we'll continue to do a thing.
Oh yeah. But to breathe and to like have space to like process that we did a thing and like, oh yeah, we're gonna keep doing more things. Yeah.
And it'll take a different shape. It'll be it'll be a different thing. But it will still be some kind of astrology thing. And and yeah, I agree with you. I got a lot out of that time at Radio Kingston. I could not I could not fit it into my schedule anymore. And also, I wanted to do some different things with the show that radio format would not um, allow me to do.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, here we are in a very like unpolished, very like liminal space of not having formed the next thing, but we're not also what we were. But we wanted to talk about the this eclipse season of October, which has just some like gobsmacking astrology. Um,
Yeah.
and the eclipse that started eclipse season was the solar eclipse in Libra that we had on. See this, like you're really catching us in like raw here. There is nothing
Real
scripted.
liminal.
Um, when was that?
14th.
14th, October 14th, solar eclipse in
One
Libra,
Libra. Yeah.
and it's the first eclipse in the Libra series that we are now in and having eclipses in. It's the one that kicked everything off, and boy, did it kick off Libra
Something.
season. Yeah. Um, so just jumping right in. um, well, we all know, how October started. We all know how
Yeah.
October started. We all
Yeah.
know the big story that is still a big story. It's more than a big story. Um, this enormous tragedy that is like kind of amongst many other things, the centerpiece of what a lot of people are paying attention to. And that solar eclipse was so poignant, um, because it was a solar eclipse in Libra with the South Node in Libra, with Mars in Libra. I believe it was a few days before the actual eclipse itself. We had Mars in the South Node conjoin, and they they met up in a square with Pluto in Capricorn. But even through that whole time, like prior to the solar eclipse, during the eclipse, a little bit after, um, Pluto in Capricorn was stationary and just holding that tension with all of that um, Libra material that is informed by the past, a lot of Libra material that is informed by um, the more shadowy side and the shadowy realms of Libra.
Yeah.
Um, and then, of course, opposite the South Node in Libra and the Sun in Libra, we have the North Node in Aries conjunct a dwarf planet called Eris
Yeah.
in Aries. I am not an Eris expert, but mythologically speaking, Eris is considered the goddess of discord and Mars's sister. So we have like the god of war, the goddess of discord, opposing each other on this nodal axis, being squared by Pluto. And this is whenever we're talking about the South Node, we're talking about old stuff, old grievances. The nodes, especially the South Node, that's a karmic signature. We're bringing up old patterns from the past, and quite literally, like scores to be settled. If Libra, Libra is the scales. When you put that much pressure and you're really weighing things from, you know, time immemorial, um, we have some massive imbalances. Um, the scales may be so heavy that they could break.
Yeah.
Like, um, so yeah, an intense start to the Libra eclipses end October. Um, any thoughts, Mandy, on that opening solar eclipse?
I just keep the silly words that keep playing through my brain are it's spicy, but not like the good kind of spicy. It's so I liked what you said about Libra materials. It's Libra materials, but it's like Martian action and Martian energy. And those two things are so it's just a dynamic combination. When it sparks, it sparks. And yeah, it's it's spicy. I don't want to yeah, I don't want to be too one way or the other because I think yeah, it's I just don't want to go too far one way or the other because I don't think it's the time to do that. I think yeah.
That's very Libra.
Right. I was just thinking, yep, which yeah, sit in the middle.
And there's nothing, I have a hard time talking about Libra personally. I will admit right up front, I have a pretty strong bias. Having, a stellium in Aries, which includes Eris.
Yeah.
There are so many beautiful things about Libra, so many necessary, needed, valuable things about Libra. But when we're talking about South Node Libra, and this idea of shadow Libra,
Yeah.
it's these behaviors, um, like peace at all costs,
Yeah.
um, changes we can make only while upholding a certain structure or status quo, and not wanting to break out of that structure for fear of losing losing our place in gaining more power, but in a certain structure, and all the manipulations and contracts and agreements and orchestrations that need to be performed to give this sense of peace and balance. um, Better Libra practices are having the courage to change the structure so that we actually can have peace.
Hmm.
Um, Instead of upholding and trying to get ahead in a structure that will not allow for equality. Again, I don't want Libras emailing us saying like talking that we're talking shit about Libra. It's not. It's
No, yeah.
patterns, and all of us do them at different points because conflict is uncomfortable. And also, if you are really good, like Libra has those social skills, if you know how to work a situation and work people, it might be a little too easy to use your diplomacy, your charm, your sensitivity to kind of manipulate a situation without being authentic. And it's these types of things that are just kind of like getting the lid blown off of
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And on a personal level, anyone who that has been their go-to for a really long time, um, there's going to be this Aries thing on the other end that might feel like, I cannot do that anymore. I cannot throw myself under the bus to appease a whole situation or another person. I'm taking that back, And so, and then we have the sound of the scales like going clunk.
Yeah.
So, those types of things for another year and a half. Those are the types of things. Um, I'm not sure when Mandy and I are going to be back proper, but I think it will be before next eclipse season.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be a running thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
yeah. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think to go with the Libra theme, we can talk about kind of the shadow Aries piece, right? And that shadow Aries piece can be that like explosive now, like you said, blow the top off. That's very much like it's a tea kettle, right? It not no, I wouldn't even say tea kettle. I'm thinking of like an overflowing, bubbling, piping hot, ready to go tea kettle. I don't know, maybe that does work. It's it doesn't, I'm thinking about the time it takes to get to there. I don't think that the time that it necessarily takes to get piping hot is as long as it takes to boil a pot of water on the stove. Depends on what it is, I guess. I think Aries instinctively just is the energy of action. It just goes. And I think, yeah, that moment of realization hits and that Aries thing takes over and it's like, no, now. And that big blow up that can happen in response to the Libra suppress, placate, keep the peace, formed a structure in the air type thing that doesn't uphold all the time. Yeah, I've been this Libra season, I've been thinking a lot about Libra as like the Saturnian thing. It's Saturn, the structure, the agreement, the arrangement between the people, and where that can get tense in relationships is, yeah, I think going to be a big topic of conversation over the next year and a half, 2 years. I hope that made sense.
No, I want to, yeah, piggyback on the Saturnian part. Saturn loves Libra. Saturn is exalted in
Yeah.
Libra. And like the Saturnian expression of Libra would be these formal contracts,
Mm.
negotiations, um, um, formal agreements. Sign your name on the line. You agreed to this. This is yours. This is mine. Here's the code of conduct,
Yeah.
the rules of engagement, those types of things. And also, Saturnian Libra is goals and success. And this is where we get some of the, you know,
Mm.
uh, Libra descriptions of, of the popular one, like the popular people.
Mm.
They're the ones who, in whatever structure, are at the top.
Yeah.
Um, and Aries, Aries doesn't have any goals. Like Aries doesn't care. It's like, I wonder, here are the steps I'm taking so that this will work out the way I want, so this will be successful. It's thinking about right
Yeah.
now. I
Yeah.
want to be in the flow of life. Like I felt it, I'm doing it. I don't have to ask your permission. I don't do these negotiations. I'm in it now because I want to. In fact, that's the question Aries asks. Do I want to? The question Libra tends to ask is, what should I do? What am I supposed to do? What's the right thing to do?
Mm.
And we forget about, and this is, on a personal level, what I want
Yeah.
to do. So yeah,
What I
these
need to do, I think, in some, like, there are things that we're, when we're in relationship or when we're in partnership, that like we don't get to do, that might be a need that we're not able to express, and that, yeah, that comes out.
those things will come out.
They come
Uh,
out.
and we've been so much on, that's where the solar eclipse was, but
Yeah.
the North Node in Libra, and the North Node traditionally signifies amplification, an increase in hunger, a wanting to move into territory we don't know so well. So, like, yeah, the South Node is old stuff, buried stuff, old patterns.
Mm.
The North Node is, I want something new, I want something different. And to put it with Aries, it's going to be these I want to express myself instantly based on my instinct. I don't want to intellectualize this too much.
Yeah.
Um, and don't get in my way.
Yeah.
You're either in support and you're going to come along for the ride, or you're actively opposing me. And if you're going to oppose me, I'm going to knock you down so I can do what I need to do. That's that's a little shadowy Aries. Aries is also delightful, innocent. Like, they don't know. They're just responding to their instincts, needs, and desires.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, hopefully it's the innocent, fresh,
The
just
Fool, isn't it associated with the Fool in the tarot? Yeah, the beginner, the baby, the infant. Yeah. Yeah, I have no Aries. I have no Aries, no Aries in my chart at all. And yeah, I love it. It's cute, Cory. I want to be a baby. I don't
I
want to think. I don't want to intellectualize everything. I don't want to feel everything. I just want to I
I
want to, yeah.
yeah, it's I like having a lot of Aries. I,
Yeah.
I really identify with, you know, the baby.
Yeah.
Um, it's not, but it's not always applauded in this world.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, sometimes, and rightfully so. It's looked at as immature, impatient, rash, reckless, because there is no thought. There's too
Is
much
it
excitement.
primal? Like
There's
primal instinct? Yeah, it's that like I'm thinking of a baby. I've had one of those and like those reflexes that they have, like to cue hunger, to cue like discomfort, like you just respond and it's a limited. Yeah, I did write about this in a couple moon reports ago. If a baby's left alone, it will die, but a baby doesn't necessarily know if it's left alone, it will die, right? And so that relationship that a baby has, it's dependent on someone else to care for it, but it also needs that room to be, it's a baby.
and everything's new. It's like, wow, here's my hand. What can it do? Here's my foot. What can it do? I'm gonna grab that nose. I'm gonna go stick my finger in this eye
Right.
socket or whatever it does. It's just like, what's that? What's that? What's
Yeah.
that? This is all amazing. I gotta touch everything. I gotta feel everything, and not like, where is this gonna get me?
Mhm.
it's just it's
No.
right there.
Yeah.
So some some Libra Aries types of things that might come up, um, in the micro and the macro, in personal relationships. Um, I think we've also seen this, like, I'm gonna keep doing this, like,
It's
power
like,
thing,
yeah.
the scale hitting the floor, um, in with all the labor disputes. Again, it's this. I've tried to work within in these parameters. I've tried to talk to you and negotiate. I've tried to make this deal. I try to just keep my mouth shut and not rock the boat. And then nope, can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I need things.
Yeah.
Um,
And now, or else I'm not coming to work. And then that's going to be your problem. Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to work with you on this anymore,
Mhm.
especially if consistently, like, I I don't have the power. you're the one who has the power and you're asking me to be fair and negotiate
Mm.
that kind of
Mm.
conversation. If the scales are already tipped and then you're saying, oh, you need to kind of work with us on this, it's like people are recognizing, wait a second, this person is talking to me as if we're on equal footing and we are not. Ha- I can't negotiate with that. The whole structure, here we go back to Saturn, the
Yeah,
whole structure has to change. We can't negotiate within this unequal structure. And I'm seeing that coming up over and over
I
in
everything.
in the in the micro.
Yeah,
And it's like, yeah, it's everywhere I look. Um,
yeah.
what else to say about the Aries, the Libra Aries thing?
Let me look at my notes. I wrote a bunch of notes last night. We could talk about how it might be a good smooth transition into the upcoming lunar eclipse to talk about like the Venus Mars, the Venusian eclipsey thing that's going on in the Venus Mars. Um,
So so the Libra Aries eclipses that are coming up, it's a Venus Mars relationship that we're working with and investigating. But the prior series of eclipses over the past year and a half, 2 years or so, in Taurus-Scorpio, we were also dealing with a Venus-Mars relationship. It's just shifting now. In fact, all the two eclipses, this is what's so interesting about this month, aside from the individual eclipses. Libra eclipse, Libra solar eclipse, Taurus lunar eclipse that's coming up on Saturday. Libra and Taurus are both Venusian planets. We had the first in a series of the Libra Aries eclipses in that solar eclipse on the 14th. And then we have the last Taurus eclipse in the series of the Taurus Scorpio eclipses on the 28th.
yes, Saturday
The
the 20th.
28th of Saturday. Um, and both of both of these signs are Venus ruled. And right as we came into eclipse season in October was when finally Venus came out of Leo after being there for 4 months doing that retrograde. So the planet that is ruling both eclipses this month, when eclipse season happened, just came out of this huge process, this transformation. So that Venus retrograde over the summer, I think, was really setting up the eclipses that we have now, because Venus, it's like it's a whole new Venus after what happened to her over summer. And I think that's another indicator of like why, this beginning and ending of these two different eclipse series is like so intense,
Yeah.
really, really intense. Um, and then also when we got into eclipse season and Venus was coming out of that long ordeal, in the summer of being in Leo, she entered Virgo. And so also the two eclipses that we're having this month are ruled by Venus in Virgo.
Which is not Venus's home sign or
Oh no.
exhalation. It's yeah, the fall of Venus, right?
Mhm.
And so yeah, I've been that I that's what I've been thinking a lot about like today, thinking about getting ready and talking with you today, Cory. I've been thinking a lot about Venus and Virgo. And yeah, I don't hate it. I mentioned that to you briefly before we started talking, but Venus in Virgo makes me think of like the ritual of loving or being in partnership with people, it makes me think of the labor required to maintain relationships. And that's not like always pleasant or fun. And it can be a little bit, Venus in Virgo, I think, could become obsessed about those types of matters, laser focused. But yeah, I don't think it's all that bad, Venus and Virgo, but I'm a Virgo rising, so.
I think, you know, Venus has a hard time. Again, this is just like traditional
Yeah.
astrology. It has a hard time in Virgo because, Venus wants to feel and wants to dive into the pleasures and the like really juicy connections of life. And Virgo is editing. It's like, "Ugh, no, this is not quite good enough." Kind of criticizing. Venus is trying to, bestow all these things, and Virgo is almost like, what I really want, I need a sacrifice from you.
Mm,
I need you to fix this. I
yeah.
need to know the particulars. And Venus is like, hey, I'm trying to feel, I'm trying to love, I'm trying to connect, and let's look at what's beautiful. And Virgo has a very, discriminating, discerning eye. It's like I think of an
Yeah.
art,
Yeah.
an artist presents, their expression, their work, and the art critic is like, mm, that's a little too long, that's a little too short, this quite doesn't quite make sense. But like, it's like, well, I'm offering you this expression, and you don't need to and you're
Oh,
criticizing it. um Ouch, like that. But also there's the, service aspects of Venus in Virgo, which aren't bad.
that's, yeah.
That's
It's like, I see two things. Also, Venus in Virgo as the Virgin, I think might be a thing. But then I think of Venus in Virgo as, like there, if I don't know the whole like love languages thing, but I know people talk about it and I have a decent grasp on it. I feel like Venus and Virgo would be like acts of service, right? And taking care of some of those, like the details of your life. They fold your socks the right way, they buy your favorite cereal, right? Like they go about doing these things that seem really minute or small, but then when that's like what relationships are built on and like what sustains them when times are really not good, right? Like, fuck, I just had a horrible day, but he replenished my favorite chocolates, so when I'm done after my bath tonight, I'll go get my favorite chocolate. And right, like it's those little things that I think really, if you allow them and if it can really build and sustain a relationship when things aren't, yeah, when things are good or bad. But I think when things get bad, I think those are the things that you are like, okay, it's okay.
that's a really good point. um
Like filling up your gas tank, right? Like,
the acts of service, and
mhm.
also I've Venus and Virgo, superficially we go, oh, that's not sexy. But I have spoken to and counseled Venus and Virgo people, and we've had conversations about, like things like sex and romance. And um as lovers, like, these
Mm,
are service oriented. I'll stop there.
yeah, for
But
sure. Yeah.
anticipating
Detail
needs.
oriented. Like there's a level of focus and detail that is not going to get skipped in whatever service providing
Yeah,
you're doing.
but and anticipating needs. like you were talking about the chocolate, and to get like, they're gonna need that. I know them. They're gonna need it. Like, yeah.
And those
And
things may
so
not be like, and this is one of those things where like astrology is just this beautiful thing. That may not be everybody's thing. Like that may not matter the same that it matters to everybody. And so I think if that's not like, I don't find that like, I don't know. I think it could be, it's a good time to explore those types of things, I guess, is what I'm getting at. If that's not, I guess, to at least consider like, oh yeah, maybe they do that thing for me that really seems silly and insignificant, but it makes me feel like, oh wow, you really see me, you really love me. And now I'm thinking about Venus, Virgo, the Virgin, and like the autonomy and the being the, because I think of Venus and Virgo too as somebody who's probably going to value and like need some alone time and some time to kind of I don't know, I think Virgo can be a little bit of a loner when they're done servicing and when they've reached their limit. And so I think like yeah, having room to withdraw if need be, and like being in relationship, I guess communicating that within your relationship needs like, hey, I just need to go away for a minute. But that yeah, that feels threatening to some people, which I guess is like, yeah, this whole other virgin thing we could go off on.
Venus, so what I think I'm hearing you say is like Venus and Virgo could be a tool or something to reach out to during
Mm-hmm,
during well,
mm-hmm.
the thing already passed, but there's a Taurus thing coming up,
Yeah.
and Virgo, Venus in Virgo is very much not like Venusian Taurus,
No. Yeah.
which maybe we should now talk about this Taurus eclipse coming up. Unless there's anything you want to say about
Oh,
Libra stuff.
oh, the
You want
Libra
to move
stuff?
on?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think it'd be good to, yeah, move on to the Taurus. Get into the Taurus,
Okay.
of course, Taurus stuff. It's gonna be way
So
more.
and now here comes this is like now this is a forecast. This is coming up on Saturday, full moon in Taurus, lunar eclipse. There is so much going on, like aside from the eclipse on that day, that of course influences the eclipse because that's we're putting that in some context, and it's a lot. It's when I look at the chart, and for any of you who can read charts, you look at the chart, it looks like there's a team. There's team Taurus and there's team Scorpio. The cluster, what do we got? We got Uranus, Jupiter in Taurus as well, full moon in Taurus. And on Scorpio side, we have Mars, Mercury, the Sun, and I'm also pulling in the asteroid series
Mm,
I saw today in Scorpio as well. I think
okay.
there is an important big one.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that makes me okay.
And so with that, so we have a cluster in Taurus and a cluster in Scorpio.
Mm,
And this is the last Taurus eclipse in this series. And full moons are usually culminations, fruitions, releases. They really wrap things up. And so on Saturday, you might be doing an early Halloween celebration, ritual, nothing, doesn't matter. Eclipse is still going to happen. Um, but you might want to think about the past year and a half, 2 years. Like, what happened? What did you learn? and think within terms of the Taurus archetype and its relation to Scorpio. Um, in general, if this was just a full moon, a Taurus full moon, even like with the eclipse, be like, oh, lovely. The moon is exalted in Taurus, and then we
Yeah.
have Jupiter there. That's pretty nice. Um, yeah, that just looks lovely. But then we have the eclipse and like this cluster of Scorpio like right across. And then that's what looks unsettling to me. Yeah. Any thoughts when you look at that chart, Mandy?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts, Corey. It's um I don't know which direction to go because it's, I'll start with thinking back on like the last year and a half on like a macro scale. I think of things like the health of the earth, climate stuff, weather stuff, food stuff. I think about what it takes to like get earth moving, and a lot of times it requires like this big shakeup and this big earthquake type. It gives earthquake type energy to me. We've also got the nodes square and a T-square with Pluto, so it's like something. It's big, and it's excavating. It's moving big things, and we've got Scorpio and Mars in there. Scorpio and Mars, Mercury and Mars in there.
Mercury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
That
there's a sting to it, I think. It being the last eclipse in the thing, I think it won't be anything too far out of like off of our radars. But that said, it's also an eclipse, and I think of eclipses as very just, it's a Uranian thing that happens, and so there's this chaos. It's chaos, it's earthquake, it's dynamic. There's a lot of tension, contingency, I feel.
yeah, there's a ton of tension, and you mentioned this earthquakes and eclipses being Uranian, and by that Uranian meaning like unstable, like like time is unstable. This week is unstable into the weekend. Um, there's there's a lot of flux, and
Yeah.
Uranus is in Taurus, so it's kind of like humming this whole time with in anything that happens in Taurus. And I just keep thinking, Uranus, and here we go again with world stage and personal stuff. Um, Uranus like breaks things. Uranus like pulls things apart. It deviates from course. And a theme that I feel has already kind of come to fruition, though there's more to this story,
Yeah.
is people being separated,
Mm.
driven off course from their land, from their bodies. And then this time speaking specifically about things like AI and technology. Um, Literally people being driven from their land. The the wars that are displacing people right now, climate that's displacing people,
Mhm.
our economic situation that is like literally creating a houselessness situation for people, and people just not having any kind of relationship to the land, the earth, or their own bodies anymore.
Yeah.
Real food you mentioned, resources.
Yeah.
Um, And
Money's
especially with these wars going on
yeah.
right now, even though I know some people aren't calling some of these wars, the these conflicts,
Okay.
the ridiculous word, that are
Right.
happening
Never mind. Yeah.
right now. Um, as far as resources go, which is are the things that we need for basic survival,
Survival. Yeah.
um, so unstable. This really is escalating that. This is pointing these world conflict events are really pointing up where the resources go, where money is going. Um, if slash when these wars continue, this is going to have like major ramifications as far as the food that's available to different parts of the world, fuel. Um, this is I really see this as like a big resource
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, you brought in series. I mean, yeah, yeah, right. That you the moment you said, I think too, oh no, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't know what I was gonna, oh, like what is the value of people? What value do people have in the world in the eyes of some people? And in based on that value, what resources do they have access to, and what are they what are they worth, what are these this group of people, this person, what are they, what's their worth? And I don't know, yeah, I don't know where that measurement is coming from, or if, yeah, or if it's, yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, how do we assign worth to a human being now? Is it only based on what they can produce, where they come from, what like and I think, we can we can answer some of these things. It's like, yeah.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
but yeah, the ramifications of that, people are like Taurus,
yeah,
Taurus and Scorpio, that's like a survival axis. Like,
yeah.
this is, oh, so back to solar eclipse. I had a group of friends over on the solar eclipse.
Oh yeah,
um
did you get to see it?
no, we didn't.
No, we
I
were
don't
too
think
far north.
you can see it from here.
Okay,
um
right.
but we had a few friends over, a few of them around my age, Gen Xy people, but we also had a lot of younger people over, like early mid 30s. And the conversation quickly, we had long conversation about like trying to figure out how, we slash they were going to survive. There was a little bit of a divide because of age, and we all know what's happening. But people employed, people who work very hard, who make money, were really trying to like
Mhm.
figure out how they're going to afford food and gas
Yeah,
and where they're going to live, and trying to make plans for when this landlord kicks them out and then the next landlord kicks them out.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, here we are on like this night of the eclipse. And it just turned into a casual conversation about basic survival
Hmm.
amongst what I would consider middle class people,
Yeah.
educated, skilled people who have jobs, still not quite being able to make ends meet. And this is like, oh, and just legitimately, like, I found it a little apocalyptic. Because then of course we went into like, medical care and everything. And it was like, like, how would I deal with that if I needed to go see a doctor for this length of time? And it's like all this like strategy. because just we can't just get our basic needs met. It's become such a production for certain people. And I'm not talking about like, oh, people who like are really like suffering, they're unemployed, they don't have jobs, they can't work. Like these are people
Yeah.
who like, and this is the condition, and it's going to become, I think, more so for people who might even now consider themselves middle class. Like I know like in major cities, if you make you make six figures, big deal. Like
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
that's not gonna cover it. You're not gonna be able to save. Um you're one emergency away from bankruptcy or worse. So Taurus.
I have a question, Cory, and this is something I've been like trying to articulate. That's so it's kind of like around the edge of my mind, and you might be able to help me kind of frame it or put words to it. But I'm wondering if like the Taurus Scorpio eclipse will take some of the pressure off of like the individuals and place a little bit more of that pressure on like the Saturn piece, the structure piece, the social arrangement and agreement and legal obligations and do you think that like more striky and more like pressure on systematic reform, systemic reform? I don't, does that, yeah, does that
Mm,
question make sense?
as a result of
The nodes and the, yeah,
the
but
that's a
it's
tough one. I don't
it's
know.
Aries.
Um, I I hate to be pessimistic, but I don't think so. That's like a general big trend, especially for America or the Western world.
Yeah.
Um, because if these world conflicts continue,
Yeah.
or a lot of our resources, that's
Yeah.
where they always, that's the business of America. Um, and now even more of our resources are gone, and we have no infrastructure.
Yeah.
uh, Things are
Yeah.
really falling apart. We have no social support,
Yeah.
and basically it feels like, this is not astrology, but it feels like the Wild West, and those who already have a toehold with resources and power. um,
We're gonna get more.
Yeah, and this is where, and I'm not saying that, and then so that's just the way it is. But if anything's going to change, if the people who don't have the resources and power are going to survive, we need to do something. Like
Yeah.
there isn't, we need to take action. And then here's where that this becomes like the new Aries Libra thing. Actually, I'm seeing that more of an Aries Libra thing
The
of
action.
yeah, I can't play by your rules
Yeah.
anymore, expect to win, or
Yeah.
even just like have a fair
Break
deal.
even. Yeah.
Yeah, by playing your rules. And this is where the Aries energy will just be like, I'm good. I gotta,
Is that when people step off the scale and then we have the
yeah, and then we're back to that. Um, but that's what's so great in our consumerist world, and this includes politics, where we think we have freedom and choice by someone saying, do you pick this one or that one? Look how free you are, you get to choose. And based on all this advertising I throw at you, you get to go shopping for the kind of, world you want. And that is like not a creative act at all. Like being a consumer, and we're taught that if you get enough resources to consume more things, like, you're a-okay, your world is good. But that's not freedom at all. Freedom is being able to participate in a creative act. And again, if I'm doing this and it's like I have to choose between this and this choice, kind of a Libra thing, and just consuming, picking what thing I want, that's not really freedom because I don't get to create my own thing. And so
Mm.
that's where I see like the it's more of like an argument for an Aries Libra type of thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that answered.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think yeah. Yeah. Ugh. Now my brain's thinking about Pluto and Aquarius and alienation and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm. Stuff we're
2025.
not going into today.
But let's let's go back. Let's get back to the lunar eclipse
Yeah.
in Taurus, opposite Mars and
Mercury.
Mercury
Hmm.
Scorpio. So at the time, so we have two oppositions going on. We have Sun and Moon. There's our full moon lunar eclipse. And then we have, I believe it's Mars and it might as well be Mercury, exactly opposite Jupiter,
Hmm.
Scorpio Taurus. Um, that's a lot of Scorpio. That's a lot of really strong Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio is in
Mars
its
and
home
Scorpio.
sign. Mars does very well in Scorpio. Very powerful, very like efficacious. Um, just in a nutshell, to me, it looks like um, some 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 deals going on in closed
Yeah.
behind
Secret.
closed doors
Hmm.
that that we don't know about, and
Yeah,
then something, the full moon kind of sheds light and reveals.
for sure.
I think it's going to be another big. I mean, every freaking second is a big news second.
Mhm.
But I think this weekend, like we're
Oh,
gonna get another turning point,
yeah.
and it'll be something that was always going on, type of a
Mhm.
thing that
Yeah.
gets like that comes out
Yeah.
that was being shrouded in some kind of secret or mystery that.
Excavated secret from the swamp depths.
But yeah, that's what. Otherwise, a lovely full moon, but
Yeah.
that Scorpio presence makes like there's something. I just like there's something shady going on. But
Yeah.
yeah, any thoughts about that Taurus Scorpio axis?
Yeah. I've just been thinking about it a lot lately. Just those eclipses hit me, and to kind of full circle, it was hard for me to really see what those eclipses did in my life when I was in the midst of it. And so I think this last one, I'll get hit with some like, oh yeah, well, just like personally, I think there will be some sort of like blip of information that I find. And I think, yeah, it's just not, I don't know. This is one of the things that I like struggle with about astrologizing and like being a consulting or practicing astrologer is like it doesn't always look good, it doesn't always feel good, and kind of being having to work through that. It doesn't look good and it doesn't feel good, but I don't know. It's stuff that I think, I don't know. I don't know, Cory. I'm thinking about,
Nobody.
huh?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, well, and just how many truths can just be true all at once, and there are so many of them, and it's, yeah, it's, I got to a point looking at this lunar eclipse chart that I had to like tell myself, I was like, you just have to stop because it's so Uranian, and so like it's going to be precise and penetrate at exactly the right moment, and then we'll know. And I don't even know that like even trying to know before then is even like a good use of time, because it's so Uranian, and anything that we can think of isn't what's going to be.
It's it's intense,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are, and I actually think this is a good thing, are expressing and communicating things from a place of having their buttons pushed, being triggered, having again with
Yeah.
eclipses, this old stuff
Yeah.
come up and out in a way that is very raw.
Yeah.
And during eclipse times, um, things come out and are also received in these very heightened ways,
Yeah.
that are not proportional sometimes
Mm.
to how people meant them, but they, they people get triggered, and then if you're not conscious,
Yeah.
your triggered expression triggers someone else, and then you get into this like echo chamber of just intensity,
Yeah.
and you don't even know, like it's one of those things when you're in an argument and you forget what you're arguing about because
Yeah.
you're just so rattled.
Yeah.
um I see the potential for that kind of thing
Yeah.
if that's a thing that's going on in your life. Some people are in a really good place right now and have sorted some things out. These kinds of environmental cosmic things might go totally unnoticed. It always
Yeah.
depends on like what is happening in your life. If you're in a hot place in your life and you get this kind of weather coming in, that's when. But globally, I think we're all in a pretty hot place, even if
Yeah.
in our personal
Right.
lives things are okay.
Yeah.
This is all triggering. It's bringing up a lot of maybe like old thoughts, feelings, experiences that we we tucked away somewhere, and now our environment is assaulting us with like so much information and misinformation and confusion and emotion,
Mm.
that we're all kind of walking around just being just triggered. So,
Yeah.
for my advice during all eclipses, but like I think especially this one, is like just stay home. Don't
Yeah.
hide under the bed or anything, but like chill. Just chill. If you feel like you're gonna blow, don't go out and tempt fate. Like if you're really not um you're feeling not incoherent, especially emotionally,
Yeah.
mentally, just take care of yourself and wait until you calm down and have had some time to
Think.
think, to feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the Scorpio stuff is it's intense. Um, in the right hands, it's like that nasty medicine that also heals us and cures us, and also kind of makes us feel alive.
Yeah.
We're in the season of we're in the season where like traditionally we're supposed to think about our past and our ancestors and sit and contemplate that, and for some people maybe even try to communicate with them, um but also in the wrong hands, it's all everything, the internet, everything. These are all just tools. Astrology, they're just tools, and they can be used well, and then in the wrong hands they can be used to hurt. And so same thing with Scorpio. Scorpio is actually one of the most healing signs, and it can be totally destructive. And often also with Scorpio, it's either one or the other, right? It's not a balanced spectrum. It's a very all or nothing.
Sure.
It's very like angel or devil type of a archetype.
Isn't the dove like a scorpion symbol? It's like the not shadow scorpion, the not. I want to look. I'm almost certain there's a correlation with like the peace dove being the like elevated or whatever.
Familiar, but I'm not. Yeah. uh, If I knew anything about the dove, I've forgotten it. Um, but there's definitely like the phoenix or the eagle, and some would even say like the hawk. But the dove, something about that sounds very familiar.
I think that was a Rick Levine thing. That might be why we both remember. Yeah. Mm.
But yeah. So as far as a forecast for the eclipse this weekend, um, you know, depending on what's going on with you, this could be just a very an intense week where you feel things deeply and you're feeling very sharp. Um, and but there, I think across the board, there is this revelatory thing.
For sure.
Something gets revealed, something pops out from behind the shadows and becomes visible. And it might be something good,
Yeah.
and it might be something disturbing,
Yeah.
and 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 disturbing just wouldn't be a surprise, because like that's where we are right now,
Yeah.
in a
Everything.
disturbing
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Prepare to be disturbed. It's not that bad, but yeah. I don't know. Yeah, you and I talk a lot about just sitting in the dark and how that's something that we tend to resist. And that's what I'm thinking. Like, it's a good weekend to just sit at home in the dark. Just sit at home and feel some things. Cory.
But I mean,
That's
putting
what I'll do, but that's what I would do. Yeah, that's what
um I might have people over again and
I thought about a bonfire type.
do
Mhm.
do a fire.
First moon food. Have good food.
Yeah, and the moon will be out there.
Yeah.
Taurus, like Taurus is great for sweets and candy.
Yeah, oh, yeah. That was my other like overindulgence. Yeah. Could be a little bit of that.
Like Taurus is it's like, oh, the abundance and all the good stuff. It's Jupiter is in
Yeah.
Taurus. I think there's going to be an increase in maybe really wanting these things, craving the sweet stuff in
The
life,
candy.
craving pleasure, craving security,
Yeah.
wanting to feel really wanting to feel that stability. And I think some people are going to feel it,
Yeah.
get it. But again, in the conditions of the world we have right now, and then with Scorpio on the other end, it's not equal. If
Yeah.
some people have a lot of access and they're hungry and they're just going to hoard all that candy, there's not enough for everyone else.
Yeah.
That's what,
Yeah.
um, and so I don't know, share your candy.
Share your candy. Share your
Uh,
candy. I like that.
share your stuff if you can.
Yeah.
That's But I know someone who's opening a restaurant on Saturday, and that kind of like
Yeah.
that,
That's,
that
I
kind
know. I feel bad. I have been pretty like doom and gloom eclipsey in this conversation, but all in all, they really, it's because I got dragged by this series of eclipses. So I'm just a little like, um, yeah, I've also, that said, Cory, I've had really cool experiences align with eclipses in these eclipses as well. And part of that was like a me and you thing that we had going on. Yeah, it's not all sit in the dark, sad, scary.
there there are there's some like really awesome things going
Yeah,
on right now. And again, like during these times, this is when like the more atrocious things are. It and going back to like equality, just like the I'm going to say something so corny. The cosmic balance of things is at the height of atrocities is when you usually see some of the most beautiful things and expressions from people at the scene.
totally, totally.
It's yeah, and that would be a Scorpio thing of those extremes. It's like
Yeah,
the 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 most horrific and the most transcendent. Um, and so that's a possibility if you choose.
for sure. Hmm.
No, is that it? Should we
Should
let
that be?
people go now?
I was gonna say either that or we go for another 2 hours. So
um, but yeah, since we're unscripted, um, thank you for listening. If you made it this far, as we ourselves try to feel through this month that is not even over yet, and and kind of turn an eye towards the the new vibe and the new focus of the Aries Libra series of eclipses, and say goodbye
yeah,
to the Scorpio Taurus series. And yeah, hope we weren't too rusty, and that you enjoyed um, listening to what we had to offer. Um, we'll be back in the winter unless we get inspired again and feel like we need to
we
what?
should talk about Mars and Sag.
We got to end this, Mandee. So
No, and I know.
I already want to talk about Mars and
I
Sag.
know. No, for our next, we should do a special for that.
The special,
A
okay.
little cosmic dispatch. Heard it here first, guys.
Um, you can you can follow us on Instagram,
YouTube.
YouTube, and our respective websites. My website is www.astrologybycory.com.
Mine is www.mandeesheeler.com. And same on Instagram. You're on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram as Body Intel, and I'll be in California
Yeah.
in November and December. I will still be working. I'll be seeing clients, and if you are in the LA area, um, I could see you in person. Um, so yeah, my books will be open. I'll be seeing people. How about you, Mandee?
Yeah, my books are open. Eclipse time this month. I've done, yeah, quite a few consultations myself this month that have been very eclipsy. But I do have, I think, like 5 or 6 appointments available through the end of the year. So yeah, not a lot, but I do have a few. And then I'm booking beyond that as well. But I think we're in the peak season of wanting reading time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So Mandee will put together, as she always does, so with so much care, a lot of what we talked about today in the show notes, information about how to contact us and reach us.
Yep.
And yeah, just stay, follow us on YouTube
Yep.
if you want to know when we're back. Follow us on social
Yeah.
media. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah. That was great. Thanks for asking to do this, Cory. I'm glad we got a chance to do this again. It's one of my favorite things that we get to do. So we'll be doing it more. Yeah. We'll just have to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something sustainable. Yeah.
So we'll see you next time, whenever that is. And until then, take care of yourselves, share your candy, and yeah, just take exquisite care of yourself and all the people that you love.
Yeah.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye.